to communicate, to express himself, and to be well understood for him to enjoy the society in which he is living. For that, he needs a crucial thing, which is language. Language that we define as a means of communication among human beings. Mainly for those who like traveling or strangers, they need to understand more than one language. This is what is leading us to our discussion of the day in the Daily Trend Francophone edition on New World TV Info English. Today we are going to discuss about languages, the advantages and disadvantages. So first of all, we're going to touch the point of how can we learn a new language. Is like we know all that is almost difficult or a bit difficult for somebody to understand just one language or to be fluent in that very language. So how
exactly.
is it
So it's going to be difficult. But before we start, I'd like to define actually or explain what a language is. A language is when someone is a means of communication between human beings, because animals definitely do not have a language, they only have a means of communication. Yes. So language specifies that it's a means of communication between human beings. So what are some of the common languages that we have in Africa? In Africa, most of the common languages are the international languages or the language
French,
of our colonial masters, French
yeah.
and English. That's it basically. But there are also local languages, like Yvette also mentioned some of them.
Igbo, Zulu, Arabic, Hausa.
Exactly.
Igbo is
Official language in Nigeria.
Is it official?
Yes.
Okay.
It's one of the official language in Nigeria.
Okay, that's
So
great.
we as Africans also, we have our own personal languages.
Yes.
But if we want to go worldwide, there are also other languages that add to it, like Chinese, like German, like
Portuguese,
Indonesia,
Spanish.
Russian.
Yes.
exactly, a lot of languages in that situation. But now, if we are supposed to learn a language, there are a lot of difficulties by all means, but at the end of the day, if you know how to speak the language, it becomes nice and it is like
and funny,
it's fun.
yeah.
Exactly. So what are some of the ways in which we can learn languages, or the ways that can help us in order to be able to learn a language? First of all, my suggestion that actually I found online, it will look stupid, but it's actually practical, is to imitate the way toddlers learn languages. Because if you are born your mother tongue, nobody goes to school and teaches you that the grammar is this or the this is that. You just repeat whatever your parents say.
It's
and
even
when you
like
keep
in
on
school.
when you keep on repeating, the language sticks. So if you want to learn a language, you should also try to be repeating whatever you hear people say in the language.
Even at school, they used to teach us how, for example, when the teacher is talking about something or teaching us a new expression or talking about something that we should know, he almost often tell us, oh, you have to repeat this.
Repeat after me.
Repeat after me, exactly. So one of the means of learning a new language also can be the fact of making or having new friends.
Yes.
By this one, you can learn expression. For example, if you have a new friend, you can say, let's have a joke, or let's have do
a little competition.
Exactly.
Who can learn
you
the
can
language
teach me an
faster.
expression and I can teach you also an expression. So this is one of the means of learning a new language.
Other mean of learning a new language also is internet. In today's world, we know that the technology has developed better. Mm-hmm. And for example, when I want to learn Spanish, I went to YouTube and I have a notebook. I take 1 month to learn it.
Yes.
Each day I take one lesson.
Mm-hmm.
I take all my time and I succeed like that.
Even there are videos, a lot of videos with coach. There are coaches on YouTube and videos who teach us how to learn English language. It's almost easy for us to deal with the technological advancement. So
talking about internet as well, internet doesn't have just one way of teaching you to speak a language. It has different ways. One of them is, as Yvette mentioned, that you can go to YouTube, look for tutorials or take classes. Mm-hmm. On the internet as well, you can make friends. They will have different apps. You can make friends in countries whereby people speak those languages. Yes. So the more you text them, like you text them in their language, and then they can correct your text and reply you. In this way, it's like if you want to learn maybe Arabic, you don't have Arabic people around you. for example, here in Togo. So if you text to an Arabic person, or you usually chat with an Arabic person on Facebook or maybe on Twitter or Instagram, the person can correct you. And this way, since you're exchanging, it improves your language. So the person teaches you more because you're associating with someone who speaks that particular language.
To add to that, I think like being in an environment whereby they speak that very language that you want to learn, it will help you a lot of improving yourself by learning new expressions and to empower your vocabulary. So it's also a main of
the time to listen to the native your friend, the native speaker speaking. You will get the pronunciation, the sounding, mannerism. You will learn all those things from them.
When you have friends that are abroad, it helps a lot,
And also, one thing about learning a language is you shouldn't have to be shy, or you shouldn't have to be scared of making mistakes. Because if you are afraid
ridiculous.
you should look ridiculous, you should look stupid, like anything, just say it. Because if you say it, even if they laugh at you, they're going to correct you. And when they correct you,
even if they don't correct you, when they will laugh at you, you can go home and just correct on the word you are talking about.
You are getting better.
Since I know that most of us do not actually speak one particular language, but we also learn, for example, English language like this. You learned it and now you're speaking like this. So what are some of the difficulties you face when you were learning English?
The difficulties. About difficulties,
there
are many. There are many, because when I started learning the English language, for example, I was at Traziem. We call it like that in Togo. So it was something like I wanted really to improve myself in the English language. I didn't know how to express myself even, but I had that goodwill. So when I tried to express myself among my friends, they used to mock at me, say, "What are you saying? What you are saying?
Like,
you are saying rubbish.
You are wasting your time.
They are just mocking you." So it's something like that. Is one of the difficulties that I personally met when learning the
English language.
And there's also one particular problem with learning a language is that, just like you said, if you are learning a language and then you are not in the same area, or you are not in the country whereby people speak it, it becomes a problem, number one. And number two, when you learn the language and then you don't have like any motivating factor. Maybe you want to travel to the country, it motivates you to learn. But if like, okay, the language is just nice, like she said she wanted to learn Spanish because it's nice. So if you're learning it's just nice, you also just learn it. But if it gets to a point and then you stop, like, because you're not going to use it, nothing is motivating you. And it needs this time and then dedication to the language. You have to be practicing it every day in order for you to be fluent. So this is a kind of difficulty. So if it's not like they picked you from, let's say, Togo and put you in Ghana where you're forced to speak English and nothing else, it will be difficult for you to become fluent in that language, whereby you have no contact with the local speakers.
That is why it's very important to be determined when learning a new language. If you are not determined, you give up on your way.
There are some people also who are shy. They know how to speak, but they don't, like, in front of people, they are a bit shy. They don't, like, I don't know if
they are scared. They don't want, they're like, if I talk, people will laugh at me, or if I talk. Exactly. Yes. And also, if you want to learn a lot of languages, there is this difficulty that if you don't take care, you speak French and learning Spanish, and you want to practice speaking, because they have similar words and similar terms and vocabulary. So if you don't take care, you want to say bat in this language, but you're saying dog in this language instead, and then it becomes like, okay, what are you trying to say?
Like Italian, Portuguese, and Spanish. They are confusing language.
Even people used to say that French and Spanish are almost the same, because you take just French and you add and o to those languages.
Exactly. So you just have to learn the grammar and then the accent of each language. It's not exactly the accent, because people have accents when they are speaking their own languages apart from other languages. But in this situation, if you want to learn a language, which is the difficult part, you have to learn the pronunciation. So if the language looks like yours, but the accent or the pronunciation is different, like French and Spanish, as we are saying, in French, they don't mention some words are like invisible words, you don't even mention it. But in Spanish, you have to mention every single letter that you see in a word. So these are some of the difficulties. It's like, it's contradicting what you were taught. And also research has shown that there is a part of the brain, which is the bronchi, that makes you learn a language. You should learning a language, that's the part of the brain that is used. So if you grew up with only one language, you get used to the fact that that particular language, if we want to mention this kind of letter, it sounds this way. So now if you want to learn a new language or a different language, it becomes like, okay, fine. Since my old language, my brain has stored it as, if I want to mention letter S, I mention it S. If you have to mention it like Z in this language, it doesn't come. You still mention it like S, because that's a disadvantage with growing up with one language. So it makes it really difficult due to the in the brain capacities.
What can we talk about when coming to the solutions to those difficulties? For me, I think when you learn a language, try to go to the country whereby they speak that very language.
That is if you have the money, obviously.
Yeah, yes, exactly. Or even
or
like
if it's
just
closer
be
to you.
In an environment whereby there are clubs. English club, for example. In school, we used to have English club. So when we finish all the courses, we go there and learn new expression, American culture, and it helped us a lot to get new vocabulary words to empower our, knowledge in English language. So
to solve the problem of accent when you are learning a particular language, I think the solution is that you need. If you don't have the money to go to that particular country to speak, how to listen to native speakers, you just need to follow local news in your target language.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So follow if you like watching movies, watch a movie in that language. If you like football, watch football commentary in that language. If you like maybe music, listen to music. Exactly. Pretend you're in a restaurant, read the menu in that language and pretend you're ordering. It looks stupid, but it's a way of expressing yourself, because the more you speak, the more you read, the more you try to write, the more fluent you become in that particular language.
Very important
so you have to be practicing that way.
Is that to have the goodwill of learning and to make things funny, not to take things seriously. Like you can just learn through songs. We all listen to songs, so why not learning by those songs?
Exactly. And I think right now we've seen that if we want to learn a language, there are lots of things we can do, but there are difficulties we can also face. But now if you understand a lot of languages, if you're a multilinguist, what are some of the benefits and disadvantages? I think we'll talk about that when we come back from this quick break. Welcome back from the break. So before we left, we said we are going to be talking about what are some of the benefits of being a multilinguist. So if you understand a lot of languages, personally, I think it gives you a lot of advantages over other people, because wherever you find yourself, you'll be able to understand the others, you'll be able to express yourself, people will be able to you'll be able to communicate. And if you like traveling too, then it's a plus for you.
Yes. Exactly. For some people who perhaps, I, for example, I'm in French country, but I would like to go outside world and go and continue my studies. I can just start learning the language here, and it will help me when I will be at that very country. I don't need to go there before learning.
It's like set a preset goal. So in this case, if you understand a lot of languages too, research has also shown that kids who grow up with 2 or more languages are better able to take different views of life. It's like they don't have this kind of one-way view. In society, they're able to understand people, they're able to accommodate other people and their cultures and everything, because they know that, okay, at the end of the day, if you behave like this, it's also where you come from, that's the way you behave. So there's no, it doesn't matter if you make a mistake or something, because this clash of culture, some people, their culture clashes with other people. So if you grow up in a multilinguistic household, you don't have that problem, because you know that, okay, fine, different people have different cultures. So if there are different cultures, then it makes the world a whole better place if a lot of people are multilinguists or multilinguals.
Yeah, one of the advantages of learning more than one language also can be the fact of being well understood, as previously I said it. So it's something like when you are somewhere and you are expressing yourself, or you want to say something, but you are not able to say it in that way for people to understand you, it can be a stressful.
Annoying.
Yeah.
That's annoying.
Exactly. So
it becomes like, for example, in the case of a little kid who who is learning a lot of languages. The dad speaks English, the mom speaks French, the older sister speaks Spanish. Like in this multilinguistic household, you see that if this child grows, it's easy for him to multitask, because that's what it makes the brain function. The brain knows that I can be doing different things at the same time, but these different things do not have any connection with each other. That's like speaking different languages. So if you're able to speak different languages, it means that if they give you different tasks or different jobs to do, you'll be able to do them perfectly well without anyone interfering with the other one. Or if there are interferences around you or people are doing other things around you, you'll be able to focus on the particular task that you're supposed to do and do it to the best of your ability. So this is the kind of like cognitive skills that multilingual children develop.
It increase your knowledge.
Exactly.
Talking about that, I think when you learn a new language, when, for example, I'm learning English, so I happen to read things or books in English.
Yes.
So I discover a lot of things because there is another culture. So I discover how someone can take a decision or solve a problem. So
multiple language, multiple perspective.
Exactly.
The different way of seeing things.
And students who are also in school as well, and they understand different kind of languages, it has been proven that their mental capacity or the way they excel in school or in class is higher than those who understand only one language, because it improves their mental capacity. And there are examples of people who understand, like the men who understand the most spoken languages in the world. Like, for example, we have Zaid Farah, who understands 59 languages. And there's one Italian man,
is it
Giuseppe.
possible?
Yeah, there are people more than that.
What?
59 languages.
Yes,
and
there are people who go to 100 language.
100
Yes.
language.
But research has actually shown that if you want to learn a language and speak a language fluently, you can learn, a normal human can learn up to 10 languages and speak it fluently. So those who understand this extra,
They are genius. They are just genius.
They are even more than geniuses. Because there's a man, Giuseppe, an Italian, he understands 38 languages but 40 different dialects. So you understand 48 languages, but like, let's say we see the way, for example, we have Evi, we have the Anglo, we have the whatever, different kinds of dialects. He understands 40 different dialects and 38 different languages. I'm like, okay, fine. Some people are really into the language. They are like hyper polyglots, I should say, because it's too much.
It's too much for a person. How can I learn?
The thing is that when you can learn one language, second language, it will be interested. You will be able to learn other language.
Exactly.
That will increase.
It's easier to learn languages.
Yeah, it's easier to learn other languages.
Just like I was saying, the part of the brain that functions with languages, it's the bronca. So if someone grows up with only one language, then he has only that part of the brain functioning for one language. So if you grow up before you want to learn a second language, then a different part of the brain has to develop near the first one to accommodate the second language. So it makes it much more difficult for you if you don't already grow up with two or more languages. But if you grow up with multiple languages, the same part of the brain is handling all these different languages. So the brain knows
I didn't even know that.
Maybe in French, letter R is pronounced this way, but in Spanish, letter R has a different sound, and in Arabic, letter R also has a different sound. So it's easier to also master accents if you already grew up from the base with different languages. You can easily pick up accents and stuff like that in order to make you like a fluent speaker. So it becomes easier for you to just assimilate anywhere you go. You can easily learn the language because your brain knows that, okay, fine.
To link to what you are saying, learning more than one language can have one advantage. So for example, if I know how to speak more than one language, I can be accepted all over the world. English, for example, is the key of the world. It's the way of the world. When you want to do your business, it's by English. This one that you can.
A lot of it said that the limit of your language are the limit of your world.
Yes. Explain it for us because I didn't really understand.
That's why you have said when you can speak one language or many languages, you can go everywhere. You can interact with many people. You can have many opportunities. Also, another advantages of multilingual is job opportunity. You can have many job opportunity than a monolingual person.
More than a monolinguist.
Yes,
so
more than.
Someone who only understands one language has that disadvantage. But there's also disadvantages of understanding a lot of languages.
We
And
are
people might be like, okay, so what is the disadvantage when you learn a lot of languages? But there's one particular disadvantage, especially in the area of education. When people go to bilingual schools or multilingual schools, instead of, let's say, we go to class, the teacher teaches maths, the teacher teaches science. Instead of understanding the maths and science, you are trying to understand the language. So you ignore the education they are giving you in that particular language. So it becomes like, okay, fine. And there are also kids who grow up with more than 3 languages at the same time. Because scientists are like, a baby can be taught up to 3 languages at the same time. Then after he masters these 3, then he can add more. But if they want to grow up with more than 3 languages at the same time, it gives them speech problems.
At the end, they cannot speak any language well.
Even my nephew, he's younger. He's 3 years old, but he's not able to talk. Just because we have been learning him
many languages.
Eve, French, and like all the language that we can speak, we speak to him. So he's not able to choose just one language and to specify himself and speak that language. Right now he's not yet speaking, just because we are confusing him.
How old is he?
He's 3 years old. But normally he is supposed to be able to speak at that very moment. But it's like not the case.
An inner fight as to which language should I speak,
yes.
or like, okay, I understand what you're saying, but now saying it out, which way does it pass to come out?
Even like he speak French, he speak Eve, he can say one word in Eve, one word in French, one word in another language.
So he doesn't understand all the languages that he understands.
He missed all the language.
Maybe one word out of whatever it is that he is saying. And also, if somebody understands a lot of different languages, it's difficult for the person to be accepted into a particular culture. Because it's like you understand, maybe you understand English, you go to a Spanish place, you also understand Spanish. But if you go to the Spanish people, they'll tell you, fine, you learned our Spanish, you have an English accent, you don't really understand our culture. So they kind of put you on a pedestal, like, okay, this person is higher than us. So, okay, he's like a mini god, he can understand a lot of languages. So you don't really get close to people in that way. You can't get close to them.
They are just jealous. How can you people from another country, you know my language, and you come in my country and stole, for example, my job? Because those who know many jobs, they are able to be engaged or employed in different jobs. They have a lot of opportunity. Exactly. So it's just something like that. It's normal.
And also, when we want to see something about the same job opportunities that multilingualists have, it creates like some kind of conflict in society. People are like, you always come from an outside country, only outsiders come and then they take our jobs from us. So it comes like, it's not actually a war, but it's like a psychological war and some kind of like discrimination in society, because like if you don't understand a lot of languages, then it means like you are nothing. And in today's world too, so those who understand only one language, they become like the minority in society, and then they really don't like it, because it brings about this social unbalance in society if a lot of people understand a lot of languages, because it's like you have an advantage over those who understand only one language. Yes, exactly.
So what are the operational that we can have from learning more than one language, for example?
Piloting. That's the first one.
Exactly.
Because you need to go to a lot of countries.
Like, explain it.
Yeah, you need to go to a lot of different countries, and then pilots as well. For example, if they're giving announcements to passengers in the plane, you can't only say it in one language. You can only say it in English, because they give the announcement in English, then they give it in French as well. Or it depends on the kind of airline that it is you are taking. Then the languages, sometimes it's 3 or 4 languages that the announcement is given in. Exactly. So if you're a pilot, you understand a lot of languages, it's to your advantage. But if you want to be a pilot and you understand only one language, I'm sorry, but you have to learn more before you can get
it's
there.
Like hostels. To be an hostess, you have to understand more than 2 languages even.
An air hostess, right?
For example, in Togo, we can say you have to understand French, English, and Spanish, or Chinese, because nowadays Chinese is something like a business language, so you have to understand that very language.
Also, you can work in publishing and industry. As technical writer or journalist. You can work in communication domain when you are a multilingual.
Exactly, and there's also the fact that if you understand lots of languages, there is also the basic jobs that we know, like translation, like interpreter. There's also journalism, and in this situation, if you want to, for example, Google what is the language that you can get a high-paying job in, they'll tell you Chinese. Because Chinese is right now the leading language in economy. So if you want to be like an economist or you want to invest in economy, then you need to learn Chinese. Because if you don't learn Chinese, the Chinese people, they are the ones leading. You can't communicate with them. And one thing I also find weird is that Chinese people find it difficult to learn other people's languages. The only language they learn apart from their Chinese is mostly English. Because most Chinese people here in Togo, for example, they don't speak French. So if you want to work with them, you have to understand either English or Chinese. They will never speak French. I've never heard, like personally, I've never heard a Chinese man speaking French before. So if you are able to understand a lot of languages, you get more careers with developed companies and stuff like that.
Scientists also, for example, they need to understand more than one language. What if, for example, you are doing experiences and you don't know how to read? Because scientists are people who read a lot. So if there is a book talking about English, writing in English, and you are not able to read that very book, how can you improve yourself in what you are doing? So scientists also people that
you can work like a teacher also to teach that particular language to the other people.
And there are also those in the human resource department or human personnel departments in different companies. These are the people that actually have contact with outsiders or with clients or with those who are coming for job applications at the same time. So this kind of people, they can come from different backgrounds with different languages and different culture. So if you're a multilinguist, it becomes easier for them to put you there, because no matter the language, or even if the person speaks your language, but the culture behind the person's language is like restricting the person, you can understand that person because you're a multilinguist. That's why most people who study psycholinguistics, even if they don't understand different languages, they try to understand the culture behind each and every language. So if a Chinese man comes and is even speaking French to you, and he says some kind of things, you won't be offended because you know in his language it's normal, it's not an insult or it's not offensive.
So by what you are saying is, it seems like every job needs someone that is just working or in the society needs to understand more than one language. Even the students, those who are perhaps selling things at market, they need also to understand more than one language.
Exactly. And on this note, I would like to say some last words to my viewers. Something that they can remember is that today in this world, a lot of things need a lot of languages. So if you understand only one language, then I would urge you to try your best in order to be able to learn more languages, or one more or two more languages in addition to your own. And in this way, you are sure that when I finish school, I don't have unemployment problem, because no matter where I find myself, I'll be able to continue.
In today's increasingly globalized world, having a shared means of communication or international language is rather very important. We have come to see how to learn other languages and their benefits, and some occupation we can gain from being multilingual, and we hope we put them into practice. This show is repeated on Sunday from 7:15 p.m. and aired on Wednesday and Friday on 12:15 and 7:50 p.m. See you next time.